my name is Kaylee, and I'm a student at the University of Iowa. I'm a junior studying creative writing, art, and cinema, and I had the opportunity to partake in the Summer Institute this last July. In my opinion, the person who would fit the ideal candidacy for being a part of the Summer Institute is somebody who is willing to listen. My own background is that I am somebody who is not only a minority within the majority, but a minority within the minority, which means that I bring a new perspective to a lot of the spaces that I occupy when it comes to discussion and sharing my own experiences. When I got to this program, it was really refreshing to not always be the one who was speaking. I was surrounded by people with their own unique experiences and surrounded by people with their own ways of teaching me. And if you apply to this program and you're not willing to listen to others and to listen to their stories, you're missing out on one of the best experiences of your entire life. I can say that after being a part of this program, my world has opened up, has expanded just rapidly and largely, and I would never have it another way, and I wouldn't have had that had I not been willing to listen. The best advice that I can give upcoming SI students is not only be willing to listen, but be willing to be vulnerable. And I know it's scary and I know it's really hard, but if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable during this program and to open yourself up and just be real about who you are, you won't be experiencing or taking away from everything that this program can give you. Personal experience, a personal example of mine, I have two. One, prior to the program, one of my best friends had passed away tragically in a car accident, and during the program was scheduled their funeral. And it wasn't something that I liked talking about, but it was unavoidable because I had to leave to attend the funeral. And I can say that when I talked about it and when I came back from the ceremony, I was faced with an abundance of love, support, and just an emotion and a connectiveness that is to this day very indescribable. I think the best way to describe it is a phrase taken from one of my peers and our colleagues. They had said when we had gotten to this program, before we'd even met each other, we had chosen to love each other. And choosing to love somebody is one of the greatest gifts you can give them. The other example of why it's important to be vulnerable during this program that I have is with me, I've struggled a lot with my identity, my racial identity. A lot of what I considered to be my identity was fragmented in a sense. I'm adopted and I'm multiracial, and I grew up in a very, very like white area, white town, and so that for me, that was just, I had a lot of different trials. And when I got to the program, the idea of my South Asian and Southeast Asian identity wasn't as solid as I had thought it had been before. And to put it very like generally, I was really freaking out about it. Anyways, when I expressed the concerns that I had, being South Asian, being Southeast Asian, and also being African American and understanding what cultural appropriation was like, I was again faced with that same amount of love and that same amount of acceptance, to the point where the only validation that I needed was validation for myself. And being a part of this program gave me the gift of understanding how to solidify my identity, understanding how to not feel guilty about certain things that have happened that made my life in a way fragmented. And I wouldn't have been able to have that had I not opened up about it. So if you partake in this program, it is extremely important to allow yourself to be vulnerable, because you will make some of the best and closest friends of your lifetime, and you will find out more about yourself than you could ever think that you could find out. Aside from all of the karaokeing and watching the sunset on the Capitol with my peers who had never been to America before, was seeing the entirety of Iowa City through their eyes. It was like first arriving, when I first arrived to Iowa City, and being here for so long, it was absolutely magical to see the beauty of the landscape and the people, the buildings, the essence of the city unfold in somebody else's eyes. It gave you more of an appreciation for it gave me more of an appreciation for where I consider my home to be, and I'll always be really grateful for that. I thought that the course materials could have been dispersed just in a different way, just arranged differently. But everything that we learned was very important and it was very relevant. And I'm really happy that we were able to pack in that much during the 2 week period. Absolutely. When it comes to my writing, I've absolutely seen a shift and a really positive shift after being a part of the SI program. Two, namely, one, it allowed me to look further into how much detail I actually incorporate into my writing, namely descriptions. I'm very description heavy, very detail oriented, but sometimes my readers can get bogged down with the heavy amount of detail within the imagery. And that takes away from the narrative, and it's something I wouldn't have noticed had somebody not said anything during one of our workshop courses. The other thing that I learned from SI is to own my nativity. And as I had said previously, my Southeast and South Asian identity has been much different than my African American identity because what people have seen in me growing up was just that I was either black or I was just like, what are you? And having been adopted, I also didn't grow up within a culture that was similar to any of my peers or counterparts who have grown up in South Asian or Southeast Asian families. Um, and learning about that and the SI program prompted me more so than I was before to learn about it fearlessly. So it not only cultivated a sensitivity to others who have grown up in a different way or who grew up with the culture in a different way than I did, it also allowed me to write in a way that my nativity was a part of the whole of the text rather than something that was italicized or something that was special or something that was exoticized. My nativity within a narrative was something that was just a whole of the narrative. It was a part of the whole of the narrative, and it was uniquely me. It didn't have to be anything other than me. And that's something that I will, again, always be thankful for, especially when it comes to telling creative cultural stories as I am aiming to do in the future.